Welcome back to Guns and Gadgets. I'm Jared, your no-compromise voice for defending the Second Amendment. If you're new here, smash the subscribe button, hit the like, ring the bell, and join the network of patriots who refuse to back down. Today, we've got a huge win to celebrate and a huge update to a previous video. We'll break down exactly what it means for gun owners everywhere. The Grassroots just delivered a knockout blow to universal background checks in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I'm going to tell you about the move by the Attorney General to hide this from you and how they're going to disclose their real feelings until after the election. And you guys and gals need to take note because he is acting like a rhino. So let's jump into this. Real quick, before we get rolling, I want to thank the sponsor, CMMG, for always supporting this channel. If you believe in quality, precision, and protecting our rights, these are the folks you should check out. Whether you're looking for 22s or bigger chamberings or just accessories done right with attention to detail, CMMG always delivers. Their craftsmanship and respect for the Second Amendment always shine through. And as always, purchasing from reliable manufacturers helps us ensure safety, accountability, and quality. I use their products every day of my life, and G&G 10 will make you smile when you're there as well. Thank you to CMMG for always supporting Guns and Gadgets and this important conversation about the Second Amendment. It really means a lot that they've stuck by this channel and all we've said and done for all these years. All right, let's get back to this story. Late in October, last week, Gun Owners of America and Virginia Citizens Defense League secured a permanent injunction against Virginia's universal background check law. It was actually closer to 2 weeks ago. But it was for all private firearm transfers. Virginia's code is 18.2-308.25. And the court struck it down statewide, declaring the statute unconstitutional. The reasoning, well, it's easy. Among other things, the law discriminated against adults aged 18 to 20, law-abiding adults, by restricting private transfers. In plain language, if you were a 19-year-old in Virginia who could legally own a firearm, a universal background check statute placed barriers on your ability to acquire one from a private seller. Now, the court said that violates the Constitution. Now, this is a landmark moment for the Second Amendment movement, and especially for private transfers, face-to-face gun deals, and fighting back against universal background check mandates. Let's unpack why this matters, not just for Virginia gun owners, but for the national fight. First, there's the private transfer issue, right? They matter. A universal background check law typically hits private sales or transfers, the scenario where all law-abiding citizens who sell or give firearms to another law-abiding citizen without going through a dealer are thus breaking the law. They want to force everything through FFLs. This decision protects that scenario in Virginia, meaning you can do it the way it's always been done. Second is the age discrimination issue. The court pointed out that the law unconstitutionally targeted adults age 18 and 20 by effectively denying them from their rights even though they are legal adults. Remember, they were mandated to have arms because they're part of the militia. Still are. It doesn't change. Third was the constitutional precedent. With Bruin, the framework is firmly in place, yet we're constantly fighting back, and we shouldn't have to be. The courts are increasingly looking for historical analogs here, and there is no historical precedent for universal background checks, period, point blank, from either the time of the incorporation or the ratification of the Second Amendment. There just isn't. From when our founders started the country to when 1791, when they said, you know what, here's the Second Amendment for you. Finally, there's the statewide injunction. This isn't a narrow ruling covering one county or one form of transfer, and it's the whole state. Like, enforcement is halted all over Virginia, and that gives gun owners a solid victory and sends a huge message. Now, for you, the gun owner, that means fewer regulatory barriers when you buy or sell firearms privately. The government doesn't need to know what I buy. I'm not breaking a law, so back up off me. It means the state's attempt at extra layers of paperwork and criminalizing transfers and creating a registry is pushed back. Now, how did this happen? Let's give credit where credit is due, and some lessons for every other state where gun grabbers are pushing universal background checks. Gun Owners of America and Gun Owners Foundation teamed up with VCDL, the Virginia Citizens Defense League, as plaintiffs in this case. The lawsuit challenged the statute on its face, asserting that it violates the Second Amendment, targets legal adults, and lacks historical basis. The court agreed, calling the law unconstitutional and granting the permanent injunction. The lesson for you guys and gals is to organize. Stay connected with grassroots organizations like GOA and VCDL. Monitor state legislation. When laws get passed that impose new burdens on private transfers, be ready. It's not just about lobbying, it's about stepping into litigation when necessary. Be that plaintiff that they need you to be sometimes, putting your name out there for the good of everybody, and building the legal record. Now that universal background checks are knocked out in Virginia, what's next? Well, both for Virginia and other states. Let's talk about that. First, for Virginia, the Attorney General, Jason Miyares here. Let me tell you a story about the Attorney General. Well, first off, he appears prepared to appeal this decision, meaning he's not going to stand by the Second Amendment victory. He wants to fight it. He wants universal background checks to remain. Of course, he won't do that until after this Tuesday's election, of course, because he's coming off like a rhino. He doesn't want you, the gun owner, to know what he's up to until it's too late. Hopefully, you won't find out and pull your support for him in Tuesday's election. But I spoke with people in his circle of trust a few times, questioning whether or not the AG in Virginia was going to appeal this decision. And you know what I got? The runaround by people in his circle of trust. And while they were very polite to me, I never got the answer to the questions I was asking. His chief of staff never returned calls either. And I honestly believe it's because when I told them that millions of Second Amendment folks wanted to know how he stood, because if he was going to fight for the Second Amendment, everybody in Virginia needed to know, and I had a platform where I could let them know. Well, I think they put one and one together and figured out who I was and how I would expose him for not supporting the Second Amendment. So here you go. Don't vote for Jason Miyares. If I were you, I won't tell you how to vote. You make up your own mind. But if it was me, I can't support someone who doesn't support my right to keep and bear arms. Now, state gun owners should continue to watch for potential legislative redrafts of the law or similar proposals, because we've seen what's happened in Virginia over the last 8 years, and it has not been friendly in the state house. The only thing saving Virginians has been the current governor, and he's now termed out. So just because this version is struck down doesn't mean that the battle's over. Also, Virginia, you better not let that Democrat win the governor's corner on Tuesday either. If you do, all of the gun control bills that you've seen vetoed by the outgoing governor, Glenn Youngkin, they will be signed into law by this radical leftist clown. And for other states, this case becomes a model. Gun rights advocates in other states can cite the Virginia decision when they fight universal background checks. Legislators should be warned. States with universal background checks are now on notice that courts may strike these laws down if they violate the Bruin standard or discriminate against age or transfer type. You as a gun owner should leverage this win. Push for repeals if you have UBCs, universal background checks, or block legislation in your state if they're trying to pass them. Use the narrative. Virginia showed it could be done. All right, Patriots, here's where you come in. If you are a Virginia gun owner, celebrate this win, but stay vigilant because you have another fight tomorrow, Tuesday the 4th. Join organizations like GOA, GOF, and VCDL. Support them and get their alerts. And get to work on your choices for Tuesday. Spread the word. Call Miyares' campaign and voice your disapproval of what he's not shown support for, which is our Constitution. If you're outside Virginia, use this as inspiration. Contact the state legislators that you have and ask, why mimic that failed model in Virginia when courts are striking it down? Everybody needs to stay engaged regardless of where you live. Private transfers matter. Universal background checks are not a trivial piece of legislation. They can profoundly alter the rights of all law-abiding citizens. You want to do more? Easy. Share this video. Tag your state legislators. Call them out when they push gun control bills disguised as background checks. Demand real constitutional protections. So to recap, GOA, GOF, and VCDL just delivered a landmark win in the Commonwealth of Virginia. The universal background check law for private transfers is dead. That's a huge win for all of us who believe in the right to keep and bear arms without compromise. If you like today's video, drop a thumbs up, leave your comments down below. Let me know how your state's doing on universal background checks. Are you seeing some bills pop up? What's your plan to stop them? And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so that you never miss a minute of our fight. Stay free, stay armed, and stay ready, because when the tyrants knock, we answer with our rights intact. God bless you. God bless America. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.